Oh, Janine, I think you're going to like this story here. We continue tonight with our series on twin brother photographers Ron and Don Baker. This dynamic duo has been photographing the region since the 1960s, and we begin tonight with a list of some of the people they photographed on stage and in the ring.
We did the Jacksons. We were hired by the Jacksons. Of course, we were hired by Don King and his company to cover the fight that was here at Capitol Center in 1976 with Ali versus Jimmy Young. We did work with Donna Summer. We did work with Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. And I mean, you just name it. Mayor Marion Barry from 1976 is when we first met him, and all the way up to last year when we did the unveiling of his statue, which both my brother and I were part of that committee.
And both of you guys are really big. I've seen you around town at different events. You guys are just about everywhere. What are the challenges over the years of trying to, I guess, keep up that pace and make sure that you leave your mark, so to speak?
Well, we've never really considered that much of a challenge. It's like when you go out, you're looking, photography is anticipation. So you're going out and you're looking for certain shots, you know, depending on the environment that you're in. And we don't find it that much of a challenge because most people react in the same way. Certain people, you can get into a room and sometimes come up with, okay, this person's going to do this person's going to do that. It's just normal. So therefore, you look for that expression, you look for that gesture with the hands or whatever. And so years of experience has taught us what to look for the minute we walk in the room.
Talk about how, I know you've been taking pictures for a long time. You went from film to digital. How did that change things? I mean, obviously with digital, your results are immediate, but with film camera, you may not get what you think you got.
Yeah, that was one of the transitions that we made that it took a minute to adjust to, because while we had computer skills, you know, in the mid-'80s when personal computers came out, and we learned how to use graphics, and when Photoshop came out and stuff like that, we were already prepared on the computer end. But for digital, the biggest issue was learning how to, really unlearning the part of using digital shots. And when you take a picture, you're editing by looking down at the image. Well, while you're looking down at the image, you could actually miss something important. So we were like taking a whole lot of pictures. That was a problem. I had to learn how to go back to the style that I used when I shot with film, because you had to see what you were shooting. You had to really think you got that moment and catch it. But with digital, you developed a bad habit of just shooting, and then hope you got the picture, instead of what you had to do instinctively when you shot with film. So that was probably what the biggest transition we had to make with digital, is going back to the way we shot with film.
We were talking a little early before we began taping here about your documenting history, so to speak.
Yes.
And at the time, you don't think about that. You're just taking pictures. As you look back at some of the older photographs, what sort of goes through your mind?
Well, right now I'm working on a documentary. Hopefully I'll be finished by midsummer, on the Foxtrot Private Town Club, which used to be a club at 16th and R Street, Northwest in D.C. And it was the first black-owned private club in D.C. and very, very well known. And you know, it was just that being in that type of environment, you know, you met everybody. I mean, I had Eartha Kitt that came through, Muhammad Ali came through the club. We had people like
Alex Haley
did his book
Richard
signing.
Pryor.
Richard Pryor. So we have all these different people that came through that environment. But the importance of the documentary is not just the club itself and who it drew in, but what Washington was like. So I've done many interviews already in reference to that, so that people can understand Washington was a totally different city after the riots, and what led up to Marion Barry politics as well as middle class growth in the district.